of local resources to begin a middle school, junior high, and high school junior color guard program. Last year, we were fortunate to have Willard Fruits come to the floor, and Chaplain Fruits mentioned the number of times he's been to local schools, and he had hoped that he could mentor their younger generation into training them on honoring the military and our country through a junior color guard program. So this bill is brought forward with that in mind, and what we're attempting to do here is have our younger generations understand the value of service provided by men and women in uniform that protect our country, and I can't more proudly bring this forward on a day where General Boyd was recognized. So I hope that the body will join me and support this resoundingly. Thank you.
Representative Harper. Representative Cassidy.
Question to the sponsor.
The,
Representative, is this a mandate on all schools to do this? What kind of schools does this cover? All of those issues.
Yeah, no, it's subject to local availability of resources. The school board will have an opportunity to judge whether or not the resources are available. The intention here is to have schools work with local agencies, VFWs, American Legion, and such. And if the resources are available, the school board determines they want to do it, and if they actually structure a program and get volunteers, then it would be a requirement. But as far as a cost mandate, it's subject to local resources being available.
I'm actually not, I'm not questioning about the costs. I'm asking, like, how do you define if local resources are available? What are local resources? And can a school opt out of doing this? Are we requiring all schools? And does it apply to public and private and religious schools as well?
My understanding is it would apply in this instance, again, through a school board. So it would be public schools. Civic organizations or associations would be those that would actually provide local resources or would come from other.
But how do we define what local resources are? And I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm actually really trying to figure this out.
Yeah, local resources would include, but are not limited to, financial assistance, training, and equipment provided to a school by a civic organization or association, or any local funds the board expends on establishing and maintaining a junior color guard program. So I would also imagine it potentially could be Lions Club, Rotary Club, any local civic organization that would want to fund this.
And in the instance of a school board that is, you know, has as a principle of their existence being pacifist, if they have the money, if it's a wealthy community, they have no choice but to do this?
Well, as far as being pacifist, I'm sure that we would want to be recognizing, and I don't understand the pacifist aspect
well,
as...
if there was a school board where the members did not want to engage in promoting military activity, for example.
Again, this is not...
How do we get to that question of whether, like, they could say they don't have the resources. Does someone challenge them to then say, you're not using your resources in a thoughtful way and you really do have the resources?
Well, this is not tied to ROTC in any way.
I'm aware.
So well, but I just want to make sure you understood that there are ROTC programs that schools can enter into. So again, this is just to present the colors and to present and recognize service of our service personnel only. There's no agenda beyond that.
I mean, I think that some might argue that that is an agenda.
Well,
so I'm just really curious about how we go about determining whether somebody actually has the resources. If they vote that they don't have the resources, right? But they're an incredibly wealthy community, but they use this as the way to say they don't want to do it. Is there somebody that can challenge that? I'm just...
Well, the school board itself would be the one that determines, based the way the bill is written, that the local school board will determine whether there are resources available, whether there will be mentors available, whether they will establish a program, and whether the children will be interested in volunteering. So there's a number of happens here to have this bill move forward and to actually have it operate. Let's imagine that it occurs for 1 year, and in the second year, there's no children that want to volunteer, or the school board determines there's no resources in the second year, they can cancel the program. So there's not an ongoing mandate here. It's whether or not the school wants to participate if there is funding and resources available. And then in that instance, it would be, do they have volunteers and those that are willing to work with? And again, it's a mentorship leadership program is what we're looking to do here.
Got it. I'm still kind of concerned about the way this mandate is formed. So to the bill, I just urge folks to approach this with a little bit of caution. Thank you.
Representative Gazzardi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Indicates he will.
Representative McLaughlin, I don't think that the discussion that we just had really represented the language in the bill accurately. I'm just going to read straight from the bill. It says, subject to the availability of local resources beginning with the 2024-2025 school year, each public middle school, junior high school, and high school shall establish. Each school shall establish as long as they have resources. So there is no mechanism in your bill that would say that districts or schools may choose not to establish. As long as they have the money, they have to have one of these programs. If I'm reading your bill wrong, please tell me, but that's the plain language of the statute. Am I incorrect there?
We had a lengthy discussion in committee on this, and based upon the multiple, does have resources identified, school board approves and shall establish.
Yes, the single criterion is, do they have resources available? And if they do, they must establish one of these programs. Not school districts, every school. Every middle school, junior high school, and high school must establish one of these programs. To my colleagues who have been concerned about mandates being placed on our local governments without their approval, this is an incredible, far-reaching mandate on every school in the state of Illinois. I would encourage the gentleman to change this bill to say it may adopt one of these programs. I think that bill would pass out of this chamber with flying colors. But as it stands, this is an incredibly far-reaching mandate on every single public middle school, junior high school, and high school in the state of Illinois. And I would strongly encourage my colleagues to vote against this bill as it's written. Thank you.
No.
Representative Davismeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Indicates he will.
Okay, you know, I'm one of the people on this floor that votes against mandates, and the majority of the mandates that we see do not say subject to available funds, right? The majority of them, we are forcing people to do things. Does this in any way force kids to get involved in this color guard?
No.
So it's like an optional school club.
Correct.
And it just says that your local school district, if they deem, and your school board is the one who decides if the funds are actually available, correct?
Correct.
So this would only be created if your school board says, we have the money for this specific purpose.
Correct.
Okay. So any school board, there's nobody from the state that's going to go in and say, well, we think you have this money. It's the school board that decides whether the money's there. So it would be the local community, the local elected officials that would decide whether this would happen.
Correct. And then it would also require students to be interested in participation.
Okay. I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Representative Reich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Indicates he will.
Representative, we talked about this in committee, and I think what we're looking at here, in spite of the objections of those who say that this is a strict mandate, I believe it's a mandate that's flowing up from the participants rather than down from the school board. It looks to me like the operative phrase in this entire bill is the fact that there are students who are interested in having this program, and then they will go to the school board and say, the school board, we have the money, we have the resources, we have the interest, then you shall allow us to do this. This is not a mandate saying you've got to offer this program and then go find people to be participants and all that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I think that what we're looking at here are objections that are basically red herrings for the actual intent of this bill, and I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Seeing no more debate,